Well, hello again. Once again, friends and neighbors, Ubertubers and Ubertuberettes alike. Great and small, short and tall, fast and slow, every other way. Come on in, sit down. Get a cigarette around here. I smoke these things. And you guys can, pull up a chair and let's just have a chat. And I'm hoping that I can talk about something that you might like to talk about. Because the thing is that, old guys, they get into these loops, if you want to know. It's kind of like, well, how come he keeps repeating himself? Didn't I hear that 73 times in the past? It was like, well, yeah, you did. You're dealing with an old guy. And, old women aren't really the same at all. In other words, you can meet a lot of older ladies in their 70s, even their 80s, who, they're sharp as a tack. Got it all upstairs. And funny too. They'll just come right out and tell you what they think. There's no reason to be subtle here. And so at 83 or something, you just frankly just don't give a damn what people have to say. And it sure is enjoyable to talk to folks like that. I like talking to little kids too. Little shorty bigordies who are, old enough to talk, but not old enough to know how to not talk. And so that happens somewhere between, I'm going to call it ages 3.5 or 4 up to about 9 or 8. Kids learn how to lie pretty good by the time they're 8 or 9 or 10. And so anyhow, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about now, does it? Hey, I looked at some good videos today. I liked Steve Turley, Dr. Steve. He's got some good vids here and there, and he is talking about what's happening down there at Texas on the border, Eagle Pass. Now, I've never been there, and frankly, never heard of it before. The Border Patrol, now this is really encouraging. The U.S. Border Patrol has said that they will no longer accept any orders to go out and cut that barbed wire. They're not going to try to mess with the National Guard of Texas and try to reverse their work because they believe in it. They believe in it. And so it's so heartening to hear something like that. I just thought, boy, when I recorded the other day, I just kept thinking, man, we're just going downhill and downhill. But to hear something like that was really, it was really refreshing, and it was good news. And so I hope it cheers you up too, to know that the Border Patrol, well, that's a federal agency, they could have sided very, very easily with their paymaster boss, the current squatter there at 1600 Penn. But no, they chose the constitutional route. They chose to obey their conscience. And so I just wanted to think a little bit about something like that. The Lord, He comes to teach us. He grants us wisdom, they say. He grants us insight, and so that's what we ask for, at least. He grants many other things, but a lot of it, what I was thinking about here today, was in terms of our mind and what's inside of us, the you of you, the real you. And so a big part of you, I think, and a big part of me is my conscience. And frankly, my conscience isn't too awfully clean right now. I got done with that darn service call over there at that kitty care place, the one I mentioned the other day. Oh my gosh. After, what was it, like 9.5 hours of fooling around, tearing holes in the wall for no reason, I finally just hunkered down and said, look, the problem is right here. Let's make this concrete come out. The reason I was so slow to do that, it's really old concrete. It takes a lot of skill to break it and not destroy the pipe in the process. And I didn't want to wound that pipe, and by golly, when that thing came out, we were breaking and breaking, and then we gave up. We break it and break it, and then we gave up. And because it's like, gosh, this stuff is stout. And if I would have just kept going in about another 25 minutes, we could have avoided all of those holes I cut in the wall. Because what I was doing was I was looking to try to find the other end of this pipe. Well, guess what? The thing has a gate valve just above what we're talking about. Wouldn't that be the supply to the building? The gate valve control for the building? Well, at first I said, well, let's just prove that. That was the first thing I was going to do today. So I walked in, turned that thing off, burp, and we started walking the project because there's a guy named Scott. He's the maintenance dude. And he said, well, here, I'll show you all the bathrooms, all the faucets and everything. And they were all running. So I said, well, whatever that line is, it ain't the main, because I'm still being supplied over here. If I had let it run for about another 20 seconds, would I have changed my mind? Anyway, it was hours later when we accidentally concluded that, because we had to charge the system up temporarily because Demetrio came by and he wanted to see what we were doing. What the heck are you talking about? And we jazzed the system with the valve off. Everything was dead. This is the main, and I've been operating under, shall we say, faulty contusions of the mind for hours now. So finally, anyhow, at the very end of the day, by now it's like close to 4:30, and I'm pounding this sucker in there. And the way to do this, in case you're wondering, you get your mini grinder, see, and with a concrete blade, and I mean, it's got to be one of those powerful junk blades that'll cut anything, right? And plow in there, and you cut these little ribbon stripes about 1.25 inches apart, vertical, then do horizontal, like tic-tac-toe. And you cut that into the face of the concrete, then you set your chipping hammer vertical, and you tear them down about 1 inch at a time. Well, I was only a couple of inches in after that. I mean, come on. 2 more cuts, what? Come on. And so finally, I pop, slap, got the darn thing out, and there was not a scratch on it except one little boo-boo where I hit it with a hammer very slightly. But I mean, it was a beautiful braking job. But it had only taken me, if I just paid attention, if I only knew what to do when I walked in this morning, we could have had that fixed and been out of there before 10:30. Here it was 4:30. The water heater's over there, holes in the wall here, stuff on the floor there, base cabinet for the vanities over there, and it's the drywall's torn down. And it's just like, oh gosh, what a mess I made for what? And so, I mean, in other words, here's what he does. He teaches our consciences. So, in other words, I have a conscience as a human being, and I have a conscience as a plumber. I feel real bad how this job came out, because let's face it, maybe I just wasn't paying attention a lot. And we could have solved that thing in a lot shorter time with a lot less damage, and still ended up with the identical result. I'm just too impatient sometimes. I'm trying hard. I want to get to the answer. I want to get to it. And then I forget to look at what's really in front of me. I think maybe I'm a lot like that, and I do that all over the place. Probably, you'd have to ask my friends, I guess. But it personally drives me crazy that I'm that way, and I wish I wasn't. And that's, I think, the way all of us are. In one way or another, there's something fundamental and deep about you, about the way you actually do function or don't, that you ain't too awfully crazy about. And when people compliment you or something on that, and say, oh, well, you just have such a wonderful work ethic. You know, if somebody had said that to me today, I think I would have punched them in the face. I mean, there's nothing ethical about how I destroyed that building unnecessarily. And, I mean, really for no good reason. But I was searching and trying to nail it down. And finally, at the end of the day, I concluded, look, what you thought when you came in the door at 7:30 or 8 this morning, it's still true. You're on the main. You've got to deal with the problem on the main, and there's no other answer. Oh. So I just got with it. I made that break, and I made it happen. It wasn't bad at all. It took me 28 minutes and a quarter or something like that. So anyway, we were out of there before 5, and, you know, no hard feelings. And the maintenance guy, he doesn't even want me to bother patching the concrete. We blew a hole in that slab out there in the front. Must be 3 feet wide, 3 feet deep. Got a big old hole. And he said, don't bother patching it. I'll take care of it. He's a real good guy, Scott. So I want you to know that as we go along in our world, there'll be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Is it a national emergency? Is it an international emergency? Is it, something in your family? Is it something in your community? Is it something at the place you work, or, in the neighborhood you live? There's always stuff bubbling up. There's always stuff that has to be dealt with. There's always chaos that has to be unraveled and made right. And that's where you come in. You're God's agent. I know it. I know you're thinking, now wait a minute, this is getting crazy. He could have chosen somebody who knows what they're doing, But he chose you, and he chose people just like me. People who, frankly, don't measure up. And yet he welcomes us and he calls us in based upon the covenant fulfillment of oath and all righteousness, and indeed fulfilled in his own body. The Lord Christ did, fulfilled all that was demanded in law. And so you're freed. I'm freed. Why? Because we're so good? No. We're being freed because he loves you and me and people just like you and me. So take a load off, you know what I mean? Everybody's leaning on somebody. Everybody wants answers. Everybody's looking for production. You be the guy, you be the lady, you be the young girl, you be the somebody that comes into the situation and brings peace and brings a smile and allows people to relax and be themselves and solve the problem in a reasonable way. Because there's nothing but problems if you want to think about it. But the solution is always somewhere or another to relate correctly back to our Maker. So that's kind of what I wanted to say today, and I hope that doesn't drive you nuts or something like that. And if it does, well, too bad, because I already said it. You have a good night, and I do like visiting with you wherever you are, whoever you are, however far you are away. Y'all sure are welcome. Come on down, and we can have a good friendly chat. And leave a comment, too, if you like. Have a good day. Bye-bye.